As his heartbroken owner dug a grave, a dog sat nearby, observing. Unaware of the grave's intended purpose, the dog remained vigilant. Then, unexpectedly, something miraculous occurred. Marvin Gonzalez swung the pickaxe hard, making it dig deep into the tough ground. His dog Charlie, a Labradoodle, sat beside him. Sometimes, Marvin would look at Charlie, and tears would come to his eyes. He wondered if Charlie knew that the hole he was digging was meant for him. Marvin had always raised working dogs on his farm near Apple Ridge Road in Virginia. Now, nearing retirement, he wanted a dog just to be his friend, but one that was also smart, active, and fun. When Charlie came into his life, Marvin was overjoyed. He loved the cheerful pup instantly, and it seemed Charlie loved him back. As Charlie grew up, Marvin saw how loving, smart, loyal, and eager to please he was. Charlie would be the perfect companion for Marvin's retirement. They fell into a routine together. Every morning, Charlie hopped into Marvin's truck and stayed with him all day, whether they were working in the orchards or running errands in town. Hannah, who worked at the diner, quickly became friends with Charlie too. Whenever they visited the diner, Marvin had his favorite breakfast, while Hannah sneaked Charlie some vanilla ice cream, which he loved. On Sundays, after church, they'd often join the community for a picnic. Marvin always made sure Charlie was with him, never leaving him alone in the truck. He always made sure there was fresh water for Charlie in the back of the truck. Marvin would tell Charlie to stay there and then go into the church. After the service, when Marvin came back out, Charlie would still be there, panting happily with his tongue out and wearing a silly grin. Charlie was really popular at the church picnics, especially with the kids in the area. He loved playing football, chasing sticks, and getting excited when they caught fish at the creek. Charlie was like one of the gang. Marvin swung the pickaxe again. Then he stepped back and wiped away his tears with his rough, calloused hand. He thought it wasn't fair how things turned out. Life had unexpected events, he reminded himself. He should be thankful for the time he had with Charlie. But no matter how hard he tried, Marvin couldn't shake off the sadness. It felt like a heavy cloak, stealing his happiness and making his heart ache. Charlie could sense Marvin's feelings as he always could. He weakly wagged his tail and nuzzled Marvin's hand with his dry nose, trying to comfort him. He didn't know what was wrong, but if Marvin was sad, Charlie would do anything to make him feel better. With each swing of the pickaxe, Marvin felt like he was getting closer to saying goodbye to Charlie. He wiped away his tears again, remembering how close Charlie had been to dying before. Charlie had been bitten by a copperhead. The dog had gone sniffing around in some leaf litter in the corner of the garden, and the snake had hit him right on the nose. The thing was, Charlie was outside with Marvin's grandkids at the time. Immediately, and completely disregarding his own predicament, he had started herding the children away from the danger. By the time he pushed them way back to the porch, Charlie was on his last legs. Marvin remembered how incredible his attitude had been throughout the 3-week healing ordeal. Charlie, as weak as he was and lying on his side, was always ready with a wag of his tail or a snuggle with his bandaged nose whenever someone came around. It was as if the dog ignored his own pain for the joy of being around the people he loved. Marvin swung the pickaxe again, one last time. The earth was properly loose now. He looked at the western sky. The light was low. The sun was setting relieved. Marvin decided to dig the rest of the grave tomorrow. He would take tomorrow evening to say goodbye to Charlie and then phone the vet to come and do what was necessary. The following morning, with a heart full of lead, the pickaxe over one shoulder and wet eyes, Marvin slapped his thigh for the dog to follow him. It pained him to see the dog struggle. Charlie groaned as he got to his feet, but his eyes were ever full of smiles. With another feeble wag of his tail, he started following Marvin. Marvin kept a slow pace, making sure the dog could keep up without overexerting itself. At home, Angela, his wife of 30 years, was waiting at the front door. She waved at him and shouted something, but the wind carried her voice away. When he climbed the steps to the porch, he dropped the pickaxe against the railing and hugged her. "What were you saying?" he asked. "I couldn't hear you." She told him the vet had phoned and that it sounded urgent. She hadn't spoken to him. He left a message and asked that Marvin phone him as soon as possible. Marvin shook his head. Angela headed inside, and Marvin sat down on his bench on the porch with Charlie at his feet. The vet would want to know when he could come through to do the necessary. Marvin had no desire to talk to him now. He would return the call in the morning or not. The farmyard was empty and quiet when the disaster struck, and Charlie became ill. The vet had advised that they find temporary homes for the cats and other dogs just until everything had been cleared up. Marvin took a long tug of the beer Angela handed him and stroked Charlie's head. He thought about the day his whole life came tumbling down around him. In the early morning, when Marvin had been ready to head up to the orchard, Charlie was nowhere to be found. After much calling, Marvin found the dog lying in a heap behind a shed. All around him were puddles of vomit and blood-filled diarrhea. Marvin lifted Charlie in his arms and ran to the truck. He flopped the dog on the passenger side, jumped in, and raced to the vet. Tests were run, then more tests, and then came the results. Parvovirus, the vet said. It's hard to treat, and the survival rate isn't great. When the vet explained the total scope of what was going on, Marvin's jaw dropped. Parvovirus is remarkably resilient, the vet said. It's resistant to common household disinfectants, enabling it to persist under suitable conditions for up to a year. As a result, it spreads like wildfire. Marvin's voice was already thin from the lump in his throat when he asked how it would affect Charlie. The vet told him the virus attacks the intestines and causes extreme damage to the inner lining. This allows bacteria to leak into the bloodstream, and from there, it makes its way to the vital organs. Marvin's eyes teared up completely when he asked the inevitable question, "What are his chances, Doc?" The vet placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry, Marvin. I'm going to do all that I can to help Charlie, but Parvo claims 80% of patients." Marvin felt really sad, thinking Charlie had only a small chance of getting better. Charlie stayed at the animal hospital for 4 days, getting medicine through a special tube in his arm. The vet called Marvin on the 5th day and said he tried everything, but he didn't think Charlie could survive. The vet suggested putting Charlie to sleep, which means ending his pain in a gentle way. He said he would bring Charlie home and then come back later to help him pass away peacefully. The vet also offered to cremate Charlie, but Marvin wanted to bury him on the farm instead. Angela interrupted Marvin's sad thoughts by running in with the phone. She said he should answer it. Marvin was confused when he heard the vet's voice. The vet told him to sit down because he had surprising news. Charlie didn't have the sickness they thought he did. Marvin couldn't believe it and asked what was wrong with Charlie then. The vet explained that Charlie had another problem called whitworms, which could be treated easily. He asked Marvin to bring Charlie back to the hospital the next day. Marvin felt relieved and happy. Charlie didn't understand what was happening, but he could tell Marvin was feeling better. He looked at Marvin, and Marvin smiled back. "Well then," Marvin said, "what should we do with the hole in the garden now?" What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you liked this story. Please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.